were discussing whether or not brands should stand for something bigger than themselves, whether it's social responsibility or having a vision beyond what their main product is. And we were discussing TOMS as a great example of that. TOMS shoes and eyeglasses, which is actually founded and based right here in Santa Monica, where we are.
Yeah, some interesting lessons are, if you take TOMS as this example, they chose to stand for something more than just shoes. They chose to stand for helping those that could not help themselves.
And they have a brand driver called One for One, correct?
Correct.
Which means for each pair of shoes or eyeglasses that are bought through TOMS, they donate or give another pair to a child, primarily in Guatemala, Latin America, Africa, who might not otherwise have eyeglasses or... And they've done this through community, haven't they?
Yeah, they sure have. They sure have. And this is a great example for other brands. If you want to be one of those brands, to take ownership of and ask yourself that question. If I was going to stand for something bigger than just the thing that I'm producing, what would that be? And I believe that in this day and age, or right now, that is a critical thing that a brand can really take on for themselves, to differentiate themselves as they move forward. If you were going to stand for something bigger, if you were going to apply a service like a One for One, what would that be for you? Because here, what that starts to do is it amasses community. It starts to, one, get more press, but at the other side of it, as economies and new markets are growing, if you're really helping stimulate those and actually create growth in those and create awareness in those, you are helping build those communities. You are starting to help build trade. You are bringing different businesses together to make that vision happen. And it goes far beyond just the single product that the consumer ends up with. Sure, it's answering a huge necessity and need for them, but if you stand for something bigger, it's going to take your brand to a much bigger space, I believe, and access you to a much bigger community. What was really interesting is that, companies that are looking to launch or provide, if they're tapping to actually distribute sales to those types of places. We worked with a shoe polish company, Sarah Lee and Kiwi Shoe Polish, and one of the insights that we got there was that, it just took 2 cents. The Africans weren't caring about necessarily a whole new pair of shoes. Where they were spending their money were just on the insoles, because if they have a good solid pair of shoes, they would actually wear the insoles down before the shoes disappeared. So just by having insoles that almost acted like shoes, they were able to use those
a lot longer.
So for them, their mindset was, what can I get for 2 cents? For us, we don't even think in that way. Most companies don't even think about manufacturing in that way. So one of the interesting needs there, or one of the interesting needs, especially in third world countries, is this idea that, especially from first world, is that the needs that they have versus ours are far different. The idea of just, I need a pair of shoes, TOMS has hit that. It really has hit that. And then there are others, which is, well, what do we wear shoes for? For most of us, TOMS is now a statement accessory.
Absolutely.
For a country, for somebody in Africa, that is something that will actually...
It's an essential there.
It's an essential.
It's an essential for us.
Like
it's a
air
statement
and water
accessory.
and food.
That's great. Yeah. There's another aspect of the TOMS that I'd like to touch on briefly, because I'm really amazed at the network of affiliates or companies and partners around the globe that they've been able to enlist to help them actually distribute the shoes and the eyeglasses. So it actually speaks to another aspect of what the brand's broader message, bigger purpose is. It's not just the actual free shoes, it's the ability to work in community with global networks of other people to reach who they're trying to serve.
That's another example of standing for something bigger than just your product. If you think about it, they're accessing doing good. They're providing a necessity to people that need something that they don't have, and at the same time they're actually unifying a community around an entire thought process. The One for One, and what that actually means to be able to get that, there's a lot of service in that, there's a lot of charity in that. But I do believe that if you stand for something greater, you will amass that much more support. So I think for them, just because of the swell of consumer support around the purchasing of those shoes that actually allows that one for one, and that allows what they're trying to do, the bigger picture, what the bigger thing that they're standing for, that actually sort of amasses to help support that vision. You know, really the consumer and the shoes just becomes a vehicle for the much bigger purpose here, which is, I guess, to help people that don't have the needs or the necessities to get what they really need.
Well, and standing for something bigger is an interesting theme, and I think, you know, we may explore that in the future in some future conversations for other brands, because standing for something bigger doesn't necessarily mean social consciousness. Correct. So we'll see what that something bigger is. Thanks.